Hey guys, this is DFD, aka Dark Frozen Depths, and this is going to be another video on the current event that's going on. As you can see, the background banner and all that. Now, the game screen is on here because I'm on the news tab for that, so I'm going to actually show a few interesting things before I even start talking about the event, because there's some good stuff right now. First off, if you haven't cleared the main quest, or you just want to grind for some stuff, because I know some people go for Van, who's one of the, SR add-ons is actually quite worth using because of summon effect. Now, if you're going for that half AP, but it's saying it's only there for about roughly a week, because it's saying it's up until the 6th. But here's a bigger thing that I'm looking at right here. There's a new login bonus right here, where you can get a Kamihime weapon gacha ticket, so that gives you a better chance of pulling a new Kamihime. You can get quite a few magic jewels. You can get Dragonic Eye Shards. Do not pass that up. And you can get some of the higher upgrade stuff too, along with an SR or higher gacha ticket. If I'm looking at all this correctly, you can get 2 gacha tickets, 1,000 magic jewels, both grimoires, meaning the gold and silver books, 2 of each, and 4 Dragonic Eye Shards. The rest of the stuff is kind of standard things you can get in-game, really not too much trouble to go for, but it's still welcome. Because the Holy Star of Light is the highest tier of crystals, so you tend to get those from the 25 and 50 stam daily missions that you can do for the elemental stuff. And then you get 30,000 gems, which, depending on what you do, is either easy or hard to get. It depends on your luck in some cases, and when you can grind stuff. I don't have too many elixirs for that matter, so that's one thing about that. Oh yeah, and forget the obvious up here, because I know I have that tab up there. I don't care. Besides, that version has unrestricted stuff anyway, so that makes it a little bit easier. But getting back on point, there's 2 more things I gotta cover before I even start talking about the event, because these are kind of important. They do confirm 15 times rate up, and you want to use your magic jewels now if you've been saving them up, because we have limited Kamihime that you can go after, and one of them is extremely strong. I don't know about the other 2, but they just might be. Considering the fact that Kushinada did have some uses, her dark version might actually be good. I'll have to look into that one. Konohana Sakuya had a B frame debuff. If she still gets to keep that, that's pretty good, and she's upgraded to SR. So if they let her keep her previous ability, she also has a heal. Light Nikke, I've heard, is extremely, extremely powerful. You definitely want to try and get her if you can. I know I probably want to. And something that can help towards that, if you are a paying player, is this next item. Remember the grab bags we had from before? Well, we get them again, and this time it looks like there's some even better stuff, if you want to be honest. Now, as before, you get a free 10-draw gacha pool, both of the break-on items for SSR and magic jewels if you get the 9,800 star coin package, which pretty much just say 100 bucks. But also, that's where this little element gacha ticket comes in, which can be very helpful if you're specifically aiming for something. Use the SSR element gacha ticket to get an SSR, the element you want. If I'm able to get my hands on this, I'm aiming for light, because I can either get Monogarmer or Light Nikke, or maybe even somebody I didn't have before. Who knows? So, yeah. Not to mention, again, these Holy Steel Argentums, you can get those from Tower of Malice if you manage to get enough medals. But this makes it a lot easier to get, because the other reason you can get them is if you spend 20 Dragonic Eyes, I do believe. So, yeah. And then this Imperial Chaldea is actually the one for SSR at Dolan's. Anybody that's got 100% at Dolan definitely wants that. Anybody that's got an Dolan from the gacha that's pretty powerful and they want to push up a little bit further, yeah. I can see it being used for the Dragoons. I can see it being used for the 100% at Dolan's. Honestly, if I don't pull 100% at Dolan, I might be tossing that on my Light Dragoon. She'll become a 2-star, I do believe. And then there's also a cheaper one, which still has its merits. It's still got the 10 chain. It's still got the Holy Steel Argentum. You just don't get the one for the SSR Dolans. Less magic jewels. SSR guaranteed gotcha ticket. Still very worth getting, if you ask me. Because you're getting an 11 pool plus 3,000 magic jewels, which can count as pretty much another 10 pools. And then break limit any SSR weapon. And if you get both packages, you get 2 of those SSR break limits for weapons, so that's something. But it's going to run you quite a bit if you decide to do that. But that's the last thing I wanted to cover right there. Now I'm going into this, which is going to be the same tab as over here, but well, how recording works, it doesn't jump from tab to tab. So anyways, this is the current event we got right now, which is against Iwanaga-Hime. It's hard to pronounce this. Oh, and for those that's wondering why I'm not using the Harem Battle Club thing, yeah, a previous video pretty much explained that in one of the comments. I'm not going over it again. But, yeah, getting back on point, this is going to be fire-based, so anybody really aiming towards a fire team definitely wants to pay very close attention to this. Even then, standard stuff typically applies. Try to get the SSR stuff, because that's either enhancement fodder in the case of the weapon, and Eidolon orbs in the case of the Eidolon, or you're actually using them, which is just making you stronger. That is a given. Aim for the SSR, especially since this is a raid event. It's much easier to do so. And then there's apparently an SR version of Amaterasu we'll probably be getting for free by the looks of this. I'm almost certain, seeing that it got her listed here. Speaking of which, I made a mistake in a previous video where there's a dark version of Amaterasu that we was able to pull for. Unfortunately, it was a thunder version of Aphrodite, who was still pretty good, honestly. But Dark Amaterasu just might show up again. I'm not surprised if she does, because this is another New Year's event, and she was in a previous one, if I remember correctly. But yeah, like I said, raid event, standard stuff applies on that one. Grind standard to get expert stuff, grind expert to get Ragnarok stuff, or jump into other people's raids. I suggest doing both, especially if you're mission clearing. And if you are a newer player or one that's just weaker, like I said, I personally don't like this strategy, especially since you don't get as much participation points as well. But you can leech off other people's raids. It's still a thing. In fact, I tend to do that during burst time because I know I can dish out a crap ton of damage to a boss, but it's not exactly leeching since I'm hitting them that hard. I pretty much go into a raid during burst time, unleash my full burst, leave out the raid, and move on to the next one. It's not a bad strategy when you're in burst time because you know you're going to deal the most amount of damage you possibly could in one shot. Because full burst is the best way to deal damage, hands down. But anyways, we're going to look into what Iwanaga-Hime, I can never pronounce that. We're going to look into what she does. But at a quick glance, it looks like she has elemental attack and gives a defense boost. I'll have to go look further into that one because it could be very interesting to helping fire teams survive a bit more. Because they're not too good on it anyways. The SSR weapon, again, we're going to look into that one. But at the same time, it is definitely confirmed right here. We can get an SR version of Amaterasu for free. So we're going to have to look into what she does as well. Biggest things we're trying to go into is this. Now, par for the course, and I think they do this for a lot of events from now on this wiki page. We have the stats, we don't have the charge abilities. The charge abilities are probably going to be further down. But know that this boss tends to have more expert HP than I usually see. It's usually like around 3 or 4 million. This one's got 5 million. Ragnarok's got 10 million, which I usually see. And standard is a little bit higher than normal. It's usually about 750,000, maybe 850. It's 950,000 in this one. So you gotta keep that in mind when you're doing these. And even more so, they break this down a little bit more for getting the different type of stuff here, where you can get the basic SSR stuff just from getting 50 Divine Souls and 55 Devil Souls, which is the red and blue orb looking items. When you start getting more stuff, you'll start getting even more items and whatnot, like gotcha tickets, you can get Dragonic Eye Shards, you can get Magic Jewels, you can finish the entire list if you get 250 Divine and 100 Devil. I might actually try and do more on this too. I got a little bit more time to do things. But here's what we're mainly looking at for this. Now, if I'm reading this Ragnarok thing right, it's saying that status of abnormality resistance lowered has been added after the curse of the normal charge. So that means whatever the normal charge is in expert is going to get added onto that, meaning we might actually have our debuff resistance lowered. So, getting right into it, standard, normal attack isn't going to do too much. They actually have damage values. I don't know if this is affected by attack power or not. I can assume it is, because that's pretty high for a regular old hit. But anyways, you got a normal charge where it can hit 2 times randomly, and it also buffs its own attack. And then the Raging Charge seems like it's the same thing, only it reduces fire resistance and also adds a fire debuff. So it's starting to look like you're going to need some buff and buff removal and debuff resistance. So get your cleanses ready and all that too. Expert's more or less looking like the same thing, where it does it actually seems to have a vigorous attribute applied to it too, so that's something interesting, where it's going to do more damage when its HP's high. But in the case of yeah, it says water attribute damage, so if you're using elemental advantage, that's where that damage number is coming in. Okay, I get that one. Now, normal charge is going to deal quite a bit of damage to the whole group and adds curse. But you have to keep this in mind. If you're on the Ragnarok version, it's going to lower abnormality resistance, meaning that you're going to be more likely to get hit with debuffs. And then the Raging Charge, it's going to hit, it says roughly around 1800, but up to 6 to 7 times randomly. And it seems like the attack power even rises when the HP is lower, looking at this. So it's going to give itself a pride buff, by the looks of that. And then on top of that, there's a special action too, where it's going to hit you with a vigorous buff, where it's like the HP, the higher the HP, the more damage it does, but it's only up until like maybe half its health is gone, if it follows a true vigorous effect. And then it says terminate granted to all allies too, on the 7th turn. Now, I'm hoping that's not what I think it is, but if that's the case, then that means you're going to get hit with a doom effect, so you definitely want to remove that. So you may or may not be on the time limit, depending on how you can handle things. Terminate sounds like they're what they would call doom, and that would instantly kill you after it ends its duration. So that can be very dangerous. But we've already gone over the normal stuff, basically. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay, now that I'm really looking at this, this is more or less what you're getting. Iwanaga-Hime is going to give you, it says fire attribute attack, so this is elemental. And it goes up to 30%, but you also get up to 15% character protection, so that's a defense boost. Now, If it outright said damage cut, it'd be a totally different story, but defense boost can still more or less help you a bit. If you want to be honest, she's more or less a weaker version of what Jack Frost would be, where it's like resistance towards an element, but at the same time also less elemental attack. But this one seems to be all damage, period. It doesn't seem to be limited to one element, so that's something worth considering maybe, especially considering the fact that her attack power is pretty high. 2,000? Yeah, that's really high for an Eidolon, at least an event one. We also have a Fire Hammer. Looking at this, it's looking to be a medium assault and a small defender. Dual weapons are very good, so go after it. Dual weapons are very good. Go after it. Now, when you get a lot of SSR weapons, then you might want to be a little bit picky about what you get, because you might want to aim towards the final break ones. Speaking of dual weapons, we are starting to get more SR that has two effects instead of just one. They're likely going to be small in both, but in these cases, you have a small defender with a small exceed, because that's what the burst of performance is. And then the other one is a small assault with a small exceed. And then you got another SR that's got a medium exceed. Depending on what you're aiming for, these could actually be pretty helpful. But if I were to choose which ones to keep, it would definitely be the dual effect ones. Exceed in its own right can be very powerful with the right teams, but you really shouldn't be sacrificing assault for a seed. You should be doing both of them if possible. And as for the light side, you do need maybe a defender or two depending on where you're at, and this can give that along with exceed. However, it still depends on where you're at. In my case, I have no need for this in my light grid because I got tons of defender and assault from a lot of dual weapons. So again, be very picky about what you want to do with the SR, but the SSR, get it regardless, because even if you're not using it, enhancement fodder. And believe me, it really does help at higher levels, because if you get an SSR weapon to skill level 2, it guarantees success on anything you use it on. So that's something to remember. Now, this might change later down the line when we're able to get more than one skill level increase at a time, but still, it's something to know. And then if you really want to, you can get Grails. I think they're part event reward. Yeah, my guess is they're event rewards. Yeah, it says Evolution Grimoire. They're event rewards. So going through and doing stuff, you can get these. Now here's where I really like this, because this is my main element. Of course, you got the typical event missions where it's clear a certain number of times, either helping somebody or doing yourself. Clear with just R Kamihime on expert. Clear Ragnarok with only light attribute. Like I said, that's my main element. I'm going to have fun with that. I will most definitely try to do that mission. Especially since my light team can handle pretty much a lot of stuff in the game now, if not all of it. But anyways, that's all for that. We still got one more thing to look into. The new Amaterasu. In fact, I might look into the other ones to see if they're worth pulling, because that will help for these type of videos, and honestly, I feel like I should do that more. But anyways, White Amaterasu. Looking at her abilities and whatnot, there's quite a few ups and downs to it. Now, here's the thing. It seems like her Dark Resistance one with the regeneration seems to be single target. It does help her sustain herself a bit more. It's that type of stuff that I'd honestly prefer to have on the entire group. But I'll scroll down further and see if it does anything. She's also got a chance to give darkness to every enemy, which, if you want to be honest, is pretty powerful if used correctly. Because while it's not going to help you in a burst situation, normal hits will more than likely miss. Especially if you've been using a recent add-on we've gotten, which is Yule Goat, who, it was either Yule Goat or Tartarus. Yeah, I think it was Tartarus. But one of them recently has a summon effect where it will end up giving you a chance to avoid attacks. And then darkness on the top of an enemy will practically mean you're not getting hit with anything outside of burst moves. So enemy burst is the only thing to worry about when both's in effect. So that's something to keep in mind. Because remember, Eidolons can still be put into sub-slots. And Tartarus does have some pretty good stats. It's one of the reasons why I actually kept her instead of using her for Eidolon orbs. But anyways, getting back to this, third thing. Attack and defense down. It says small, so my guess is maybe like 10% at most. But that's still B-frame debuffing. Light needs a little bit more of those, so that's very good, in fact. But that's more if you're focused on debuffs. Some people hate using them for some reason. Which, to each their own, but I say it's kind of stupid because you're taking less damage and dealing more if they land. Only in content where you're not likely to land it, yeah, I can agree. But anyways, yeah, as I said, this seems to be single target on her first skill. I'm not surprised. And honestly, her second ability can work hand in hand with Light Tsukiyomi, what they're saying right here, because they both happen to have that. And then on top of that, this also says that she's the first B-frame debuffer for Light, so keep that in mind. It's only 10%, but it can be very, very valuable. If you want to be honest, if I happen to implement her into my lead team, then I would not need the sniper shot skill. So that's something to know. Again, it depends on how you use her. But quite frankly, I'm still stuck on the SSR Brigade, so I'm definitely keeping them for Light. But this can be helpful in other situations. But yeah, she's definitely worth getting. So it's not too hard to get any of the raid Kamihime, so at least go out of your way to get them, because it only takes like 5, maybe 3 souls to get them, which is exceedingly easy if you want to be honest. Now, I'm also going to be looking up what these characters do. The New Year's characters. Jeez, that sounds weird. New Year's. But anyways, we have to go pretty far down the list because we got a lot of Kamihime that I'm just scrolling past. In fact, they introduced Aphrodite before Nikke on our side. I wonder what that was about. And then we got Trish Taya coming up soon too, by the looks of it. She's another strong one. But anyways, Light Nikke. Her whole thing is about putting amulets on herself in order to increase that her type of effect. If you have Pluto, you know what this is all about. Now, here's what makes her pretty strong. And very, very strong, in fact. She will end up putting amulets on herself and deal damage with her first move. And then second move is stackable and very, very strong. Attack up to all allies. Stackable, plus 20% each cast. And you can get it a whopping 6 times at level 75. But it does take an amulet every time you use it. And then there's her third skill, which is also very, very powerful. It consumes 7 amulets. But everybody's verse gauges are instantly filled. Now you see where I'm going with this. And to make things even more so, her own defense goes up each time she has an amulet. It says plus 20% by 1, so she'll probably be taking next to no damage if you got a lot of amulets on her. Yeah, that's exceedingly powerful. Exceedingly powerful. You can stock up to 20 amulets, but it does say it gives you 3 amulets each time you cast the first skill. And then it comes into the fact that she can hit 120% in attack buffs for everyone That is insane. And then on top of that, even further, is the fact that she can also full generate people's burst gauges. But you want to be honest, it's only really worth using right after a full burst, because by the time you generate the 120% attack power, you probably will have a full burst gauge. Now granted, in longer fights, she's not going to be as effective, but in the shorter fights, even then, she'll still give you a few buffs to the amulet stacking. Because you generally won't end up fighting like 2-3 turns if you're on par with the difficulty of the enemies. Like for instance, I can go into a guild order fight, still do it in less than 15 turns, but it's going to take me about 7 or 8 at the very least. So that said, I could still get 3 stacks that buff on them if she's level 75, and that was still 60% attack power. And it says there's a few other characters she can put that with too. But like I said, she is powerful. Problem is, she's limited. Good luck. And then on top of that too is the fact that if you can accumulate 20 amulets, her defense power is 400% higher. In other words, times 5 defense. That's saying that she will take 1/5 of the damage at all times, as long as you have those amulets on her. That is incredible. Again, depending on how you use her, she can be very strong. Quite frankly, I always thought Nikki was cute as hell, but they tend to emphasize her tits more. But those abilities are definitely not to be trifled with. Like, the first one's just for amulet building, but at the same time, oh boy, the other 2 abilities can be very powerful, especially that stackable attack up. That is the most attack power I've seen stacked up on the entire team. Somebody that can do it on herself is Vishnu, and she can get 150%. But Nikke giving the whole team 120%, that's nuts. If I were to put it so far, I would probably use her over Michael, if you do happen to get her. Yeah, she's that strong. At least until Michael gets her an awakening, then it becomes debatable. But yeah, definitely get her if you can. I know I'm going to try because, hey, guess what? You've got a whole month to try and pull for her. If I've seen that correctly, you got till the 31st. But you know for a short while you're only going to be able to use magic jewels for that. So yeah, good luck. Now scrolling down on this SR side, we have to see what the other ones do. And like I said, there's a lot of them that's been in here. Yeah, there she is, Konohana Sakuya. I'm kind of curious about her too, because I do like her lesser version. Which, yeah, as I said, she retained her previous abilities, but then get some extra stuff as well. Now, what they did was pretty much strengthen, well, they weakened her, okay, at the cost of lowering the turn counter, they weakened her, her debuff, because it was 20% with a 10 turn cooldown. Now it's 15% with a 7 turn cooldown. Assuming you get her to level 45, which isn't too hard to do, really. Her heal has been buffed up. It's doubled at its normal levels, but at level 65 more than doubles it to 1200. And I've heard before that there is literally percentage healing in this game. It's just the fact that you also hit a healing cap pretty fast, because it's like somebody can have a healing cap of 50%, but it's only healing you like 500 by the time you get 1000 HP or more. I don't know if that's fully true, and I'll probably never confirm it at this point, given what the hell happened with the HBC forums. But if that is true, then yeah, it's something to really think about. But they are giving us raw numbers right here, though, so it probably doesn't matter too much, especially considering the fact that Ascension's in the game. But her third ability increases wind resistance. And then it says in upstate for her assist. I don't know what that's about. I gotta look into that further. But when attack resistance, that's the same thing as Daki's move, only on an SR. It's probably weaker though. I'm not surprised if it's weaker. No, it might. No, it is weaker. Okay. So yeah, pretty much covered the debuff thing, covered the healing thing. The wind resistance is 30%. Daki's is 40%. But that's still pretty strong. It's like a 30% damage cut for one turn, provided it's a wind enemy. And then on top of that, her assist ability, it says when the wind attribute tolerance is up, meaning that when she hits herself with that debuff, with that buff, it will increase her attack power in an assault frame by 50%. That's pretty strong, if you want to be honest. So she gets a little bit extra attack and defense when you do that. I don't know if it's the whole team, but it definitely is her. And then we got to go into the R Kamihime. And just for something to point out there too, I did look up how much of the limited Kamihime and everything I got. I have about a good 70 to 80% of the Kamihime in the game, which is something. Anyways, Kushinada. I always thought she was cute, but she never went towards those. Could be a blessing and a curse. Now, here's what she's got. By the looks of things, she might in fact have the same defense down. Attack and defense down. That, what's her name? Konohana Sakuya just had as an R Kamihime. And then it looks like she's got a damage invalidation while attracting. Kind of like Gaia. So this could be interesting. What's even more interesting is the fact that her burst will reduce a charge gauge. I don't know where that came from, but okay. That's another thing. I gotta start looking at burst abilities more because it looks like they're all starting to get them normally instead of just awakened. Okay, that debuff is 15%, but it works the same way as Konohana Sakuya, so 20% when you get it increased. The burst thing is the fact that the faster you can fill up her burst gauge, the more you can get the charge turns reduced, so keep that in mind. And then there's still her protection ability where it says indomitability, meaning that I don't think she takes any damage whatsoever. And that said, sorry if you heard something outside too, it's very windy, but that said, this is like Awaken Gaia's ability, where single targets will sit up and just go right to her. And then on top of that too, indomitability means that the first time she takes damage that would kill her, she survives with 1 HP. So this is something totally new. It's like Gaia's ability, but a little bit tweaked. I'd say Gaia's is still stronger because it flat out blocks all damage from 3 sets of attacks. But this one is also very powerful. So she's actually an R Kamihime worth getting. In my opinion, anyway. Especially because of the debuff. B-frame debuffs that stronger, not too easy to combat. Even though the cooldown is long, it's still manageable if you do things right. But yeah, definitely worth getting her too. So anyways, that's all for this video. I'm going to do some more event videos and stuff later down the line. Like I said, a few things that you absolutely should be doing. Definitely pull on this gacha because it's got some very good Kamihime if you can. Grab bags are also worth it because of the break limit items and the stuff you can get for pulling. It still depends on your luck, keep that in mind. But are they worth it compared to other stuff? Yeah, hell yeah. And then on top of that is the fact that free white Kamihime that does quite a bit. Plus, Amaterasu's got a lot of fans. I swear she's got like 3 versions on this set, and DML might have another one. But, anyways, that's all for this video, guys. This has been a long one, but I'm gonna leave everybody to their thing. I'm also going to do my own thing and probably make a video of this pretty soon. But anyways, that's all for now, guys. Take care.